Hey, what's up? In today's video, we're doing a Halloween special, or mid-November special, depending on when this comes out. To start this off, let's get into some turkey lore. This movie came out in 2003, and I watched it when I was about 5 or 7 years old, and it terrified the piss out of me. But then again, I was also Leatherface for Halloween one year, so who knows, I'm a very complicated person. Besides the remake, Platinum Dunes also remade A Nightmare on Elm Street, where they confirmed Freddy as a diddler, and Friday the 13th, where I can still remember the trailer with Jason in the shower, and it's the reason why I still have trust issues with curtains today.
I gotta stop drinking.
Now, fast forward like 20 years and me and my uncle are doing this thing where I'll bring over some DVDs I got at the flea market and swap them with some of his DVDs. Then, after a couple of weeks, I'd return them and borrow some more. And one of these movies he has is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, I guess there was also like a movie club I had with some old coworkers, and we watched the sequel to this movie, which was actually a prequel, and the only thing I remember from that is Leatherface getting called a big dumb retard.
Judd, when do you get that oversized retard the hell out of here?
But back to the present, I got this DVD and finally conquered my childhood fears and learned that this is actually a decent movie. Like, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is a hit or miss, and I haven't seen the Friday the 13th remake, but from what I can gather, it's mid at best. And everyone likes to point the finger at Michael Bay.
I had this crazy idea to record a girl in a house.
While I don't know how involved he was with the other movies, I know that in this one he wasn't really involved with anything more than just throwing some money around, which is honestly the best involvement Michael Bay can have.
There were rumors that I considered directing it myself. No, I didn't. There were scenes I would have liked to direct.
The concept of the company was always to find interesting directors who have a great sense of style, who have not done a movie before.
This movie was the directorial debut of Marcus Nispel. This movie was the directorial debut of Marcus Nispel, who'd previously worked on advertisements and music videos.
I did 250 different ones, anything from Puff Daddy to Aretha Franklin to Tony Bennett.
They also set out to try and not redo the original because fans wouldn't be happy with it no matter what they did.
How do you remake a movie that has so much history behind it, such a fan base? Will it stand up to, the original?
The movie's alright the way it is. I don't know why they should, why?
I'm sure it's gonna suck.
And they also thought that if they just did a straight remake, the audience would know what to expect from the characters, and they wanted to try and surprise the audience while still remaining faithful to the original. Speaking about the original, to give a very quick rundown, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was an independent horror movie directed by Tobe Hooper and released in 1974. This film was based on true events and would follow a group of teens that found themselves trapped in a never-ending nightmare where they were being pursued by a large man with a chainsaw.
25 years later, members of Congress were still using the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as an example of the depravity of America.
The film could very well be the most profitable film of all time, but nobody will ever really know how much money it made because of Bryanston Distribution Company.
These fellas knew their business and knew how to collect what was owed them.
Bryanston started off by making pornos in the 70s before getting involved with the Colombo crime family, then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, before finally getting sued out the ass over conspiracy to distribute obscenity across state lines. Pun intended. I know that was more about Bryanston and less about the original film, but that story is just too interesting to not talk about. The character of Leatherface is based heavily on the real-world serial killer Edward Theodore Gein, also known as the Butcher of Plainfield. With true crime blowing up in the past few years and this person being the inspiration for so many villains in horror movies, chances are you've probably heard of Ed's escapades. No matter if you have or haven't, I'm gonna talk about it anyway, so if you already know everything there is to know about Mean Green Gein, you can just skip forward a little bit. But Edward was active in the 50s, and he had all the mommy issues of Norman Bates and the interior decoratings of the Sawyers. Sawyer is the last name of the Leatherface family. To oversimplify, this dude dug up his mother's corpse, then decided he really liked it, so he did it a few more times and would make skin lamps and bone couches and just so much shit. Like, look up a list of all the things they found at his house. It's honestly impressive.
They found the skin, waste,
basket we told you about. They found chairs with human skin coverings. There were skulls with the top sawn off, female genitals stored in a shoebox. They found noses, lips attached to a drawstring, female fingernails, a human skin lampshade, skulls on bedposts, and of course, Ed's pièce de résistance, his human bodysuit, replete with the breasts of a woman.
But then old Eddie decided he wanted to up the stakes and go for something alive, so he killed a store clerk, and this is what caused local police to uncover the whole caboodle. The DVD set I have even comes with a 25-minute documentary going over Edward and the things he's done and films he's inspired. We're getting to the movie, I promise, but this is a Halloween special, and there's honestly just a lot of shit to talk about. This movie came about really as a right place, right time sort of thing. The rights to the franchise were up for grabs, and the director's longtime DP just so happened to be the DP of the original film. Also, DP means director of photography, so basically he was the head camera guy. The actors in this film also had a lot of experience, with them being from such movies and TV shows as Family Guy, The Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, Full Metal Jacket, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and The Virgin Whoopsie. This is the second time that this movie has come up on my channel, so if you'd want to see a video going over it, let me know in the comments. It's not really a funny haha movie, so I'm not sure how I would make a video, but it has James Woods in it, and it's one of those movies you can talk about to sound like you're not like other guys, so who knows.
This is beyond my capabilities. I no longer see the merit of this endeavor.
The cast and crew had good chemistry with each other, and after watching some behind-the-scenes videos included on the DVD, you really get the feeling that this was just a bunch of goobers who got together to remake a movie they all loved. Well, except for Jessica Biel.
Boom! Cut! Lovely!
Boom is right. That's how you describe that shot. Boom, 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 boom.
Everyone's kind of annoying.
There was also more Diddywood activities that happened off-screen rather than on-screen.
Yo, check this out right here, man! Yeah, you gotta smell funky to be funky, you know?
We felt very strongly.
Like, a lot of horror movies throw in a cheap pair of boobs to retain the attention of the more lizard brain individuals. Or if you're Rob Zombie, you throw in 20 pairs of dead breasts and 4 shots of beaver for the caveman brained.
You know, I think I'm gonna get me some Tutti fucking Fruity.
Tutti fucking fruity, that sounds good.
Tutti fucking Fruity!
Shut up!
Tutti fucking Fruity! Tutti fucking Fruity!
Shut up!
Tutti fucking Fruity!
Listen, there is no fucking ice cream in your fucking future.
But this movie has not a single stray nipple, which surprised me. But then you had people rubbing ass on other people, and a guy from New Line Cinema talking about getting busy while watching Nightmare on Elm Street.
Couples go to the movies, everybody gets scared, the girl grabs the guy grabs the girl maybe for slightly different reasons. It's something that get you to go back.
Literally, the only nudity on this entire DVD set is 2 men's asses and 1 wang, and it's very progressive for 2003. The wang shot came from Eric Balfour, who was raised in a nudist community, and on the last day of filming, he stripped down to nothing but a baseball cap and walked off into the sunset. Speaking about wishing you were blind, the trailer for this movie was originally just a black screen with some spooky noises. This trailer would very soon be shot down because it was deemed too graphic.
Ironically enough, they wouldn't let us air the trailer that was all black. And I'm like, well, you can't see anything. Well, it's indicated.
I probably could have worked this in earlier, but there was also a music video for this movie, and wasn't that just such a concept? Like, they were basically AMVs with a budget, and really was a product of its time. Also, the song isn't that bad. I mean, I can't play it or this video would get banished to the Shadow Realm, but I'll put a name up on screen and you can do some independent research. With all of that out of the way, we can finally get to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Getting into this movie, we open with black and white crime scene footage with narration from John Larroquette, who narrated the original.
For 30 years, the files collected dust in the Cold Cases Division of the Travis County Police Department.
In the original cut of this movie, they were going to use scenes of present-day Aaron and presumably a mental ward to open and close this movie. The intro would have someone interviewing her about what happened, and then the movie, and then the ending would have been her revealing that they got the wrong person because Leatherface only had one arm.
And the autopsy photos had 2 arms. He only had one.
Holy shit!
Then there was also a SWAT scene, which felt like something out of the Nolan Batman movies.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Because he's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him.
Like, how the fuck did he sneak out of there? How? Leatherface is known for not only being a mountain of a man, but also fairly loud. Like, obviously the chainsaw is louder than a machete or a knife, but just in terms of like walking and existing, Leatherface is loud. Everything else about these bookends are good though. They cut it last minute because after someone who worked on The Shining watched the test cut, he called the director and told him about the original ending of The Shining. This ending would see Wendy in a mental institution getting interviewed by the staff, and the staff thinks that she just made it all up, but then the camera would pan over where we see the iconic photo of Jack doing the Baphomet pose. The audience didn't really react to this compared to the ending we got where the girl boss slays and everything is fine enough. I feel like these movies could have been fine with the mental institution ending, but since then the trope has been beaten worse than a dead horse. So in retrospect, I'm glad they didn't use these scenes. Instead, they frame the story as a cold case, and we see various evidence bags and photos collected from the Hewitt family. So if you remember from earlier, I said that the Leatherface family name was Sawyer, and I got that from Google. This video is already behind, so I'm just gonna assume that they changed it for this timeline, but the main timeline is Sawyer. Anyway, getting back to the movie, we see footage of the walkthrough of the Hewitt house.
This is August 20th, 1973. The time is 3:47 p.m. Location is the Hewitt residence on Route 17. It's where victim 1 was found.
It sets the tone very well, with the police coming across various signs of a struggle, and after getting hit with the title card, we cut to see the group we'll be following throughout this movie. We have Joe Everyman, Jane Everywoman, the nerd, the horny dude, and the horny chick. The group is coming from Mexico and headed to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert. Why were they in Mexico? Well, to get a piñata full of weed, of course. Aaron and Kemper are bickering about marriage, and in the process, Aaron destroys a perfectly innocent doobie.
Peace up.
Morgan then lets it slip that they kinda got 2 pounds and not just 2 ounces, and this causes Aaron to go nuclear, but then she calms down with the smooch. The group then almost run over a woman walking down the road, and this was one of the big differences between this and the original. Remember when I said that the people working on this film didn't just want to do the original again because people would be upset no matter what they did? Well, The Hitchhiker was a really big part of that.
There was no way to improve upon The Hitchhiker in the first movie because you just can't cast that. You know, it was done the first time, and I just knew you couldn't try to replicate that.
They knew that there was no way they could do better than the original, so they decided to change the crazy cousin of the chainsaw killer into a previous survivor of the Hewitt Hell House. And I just want to give a little golf clap to the team for this decision.
Nice car.
Also, this change led to one of the best shots in horror history, but we're not there yet. After getting the girl in the van, the group head down the road in silence before trying to figure out what happened.
They're all dead.
Oh my god, I am way too stoned for this.
The group pass a meat processing plant, and this causes the girl to get hysterical, and we get one of the best sequences in modern horror history.
You're all gonna die.
Grab it!
Now, because this video is long enough and I don't want to have to re-edit it, I'll just be putting a black and white filter over the more bloody parts so YouTube won't kick my ass over corn syrup and food coloring.
Ketchup. Just like my mom puts on her spaghetti, baby.
The shot is so incredible because it's real. Well, real in the sense that the only CGI used was to fill in a gap on the roof of the car and add the back windshield. To get the shot, they had to cut a slot in the roof of the van so they could operate a camera crane. Then, using an anal examination camera, they pulled the camera from the front of the van all the way out the back through the girl's head in one shot.
Wow! Baby!
This took many takes, but in the end, it was worth it. I don't think this was intentional, but when Kemper says that he's never seen a person die before, Morgan says that most people never do. And I guess, spoiler alert for the virgin suicides, but somebody kills themselves by the end of it, and Jonathan Tucker was one of the characters who saw it. Kemper wants to call the police, but this causes Morgan to flip out about the piñata full of weed, causing Kemper to throw the stash in the middle of a cow field.
Fuck you! It's over.
After this act of domestic terrorism, Kemper changes his name to Homer because he is a simp, son.
You okay?
A lot of the deleted scenes were character development, and one of them takes place here, but I don't think now is the right time to talk about it, so just remember this and we'll get back to it later. To break up all the dread, there is a nice bit of comedy.
Well, I'll tell you this much. There's no possible way I'm ever getting back in that van.
And comedy in horror movies is great because it eases back the tension and allows the film to build it right back up. It's kind of like fishing. If you just tug the rod the whole time, it's not going to be enjoyable. The fun is in giving an inch and then taking a foot. In this case, quite literally. The group find a gas station, and this is when we meet our first local, who is a seemingly nice old lady.
Something like this comes along, makes folks realize how crazy the world is out there.
While calling the sheriff, the group noticed the meat for sale and its questionable quality. The nice old lady tells the group to meet the sheriff at the old mill, and this is met with resistance, which is actually kind of reasonable in this case.
The old Crawford Mill, he wants to know if you wouldn't mind driving over there to make your report.
Yes, we goddamn mind.
I'm sorry, but how often do girls just blow their heads off in this shithole town?
We also can see that Erin is already turning into the hitchhiker when she says this.
I just want to go home, okay?
That's fine.
The group pull up to the old mill, but the sheriff is nowhere to be seen, so democracy takes over.
Maybe we should vote on it.
Kemper, no.
Why not, Erin? It is a democracy.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
Morgan is begging Kemper to just dump the body, but Kemper is a super simp, so instead they start looking around to see if they can find anything. All they find, however, is atmospheric suspense and the cutest gosh darn possum you've ever seen. I say that because when trying to film this scene, the possum wouldn't do anything menacing when they opened the door, and the animal trainer had to give the director a lesson in possumology.
They got me a possum on the day of the shoot, we open it up, and the possum doesn't do anything. They play dead, that's what they do.
Damn it!
I asked them to agitate it a little bit, just like played with the sort of possum, but hopefully you want to go for his finger. And then it did, and it like almost took his finger off. That's a poor man.
The group also find a weird looking dog called Jebediah who questions the group about the girl in the back of the van.
Huh? 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 We didn't do anything to her.
She did that to herself.
Huh? After telling Jebediah that the girl did that to herself, the group figure out where the sheriff lives, and Kemper, along with Erin, head to the house. There's also deleted scenes here, but I'm still waiting a little bit longer before I talk about them. After Jebediah runs away from the van group, we catch back up with Erin and Kemper, where we see the House of Hell. This house, and pretty much all of the other sets in this movie, were actual buildings. The house was abandoned for years, so mold started to grow, but instead of taking it out just to paint it back on, the team sealed in the mold so it was safe to be around, but was still visible and looked natural. The basement was an abandoned cotton gin, and it was flooded for years, which was perfect, but we haven't gotten that far yet. Kemper and Erin are met at the door by Monty, who you may notice has no legs.
I said she could call him. You wait outside.
Okay, Chief. I ain't looking for trouble. Don't shoot.
Terrence Evan, who plays Monty, not only had legs, but had enough to make him 6'3", which, as you can guess, was a problem. Through various workarounds, they were able to have him kneeling to conceal his legs, which would normally be a problem, but Terrence's day job was laying carpet, so like a glory hole hero, he had a lot of experience being on his knees for an extended period of time. While Aaron is talking to the sheriff's office, the sheriff pulls up to the group at the van.
That's just an educated guess, but my money says your dead body's right there in that van.
The sheriff is played brilliantly by R. Lee Ermey, who you probably know from Full Metal Jacket, because ever since that movie, he's played the same character.
Lee at first is very reticent to start becoming that character, but after 15 minutes...
That name sounds like royalty to me. Are you royalty, Private File? They're really neat kids. Do you suck dicks, Private File?
Fun fact, Ermey wasn't supposed to be in Full Metal Jacket. He was just supposed to give pointers to the person playing the drill sergeant because Lee was an actual drill sergeant. But Ermey soon found his way into the hearts of many, so he ended up taking the role from the person who was supposed to play it. And I believe he's the dude in the helicopter shooting at the rice farmers.
Why should we do a story about you? Because I'm so fucking good. That ain't no shit neither.
Also, if you haven't seen it, please watch Full Metal Jacket. Easy 8.5 out of 10.
Bullshit, it looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as a brown stain on the mattress. I think you've been cheated.
After getting off the phone with the sheriff's department, Erin is about to head out when Monty calls for her help.
Thanks, I'm all set.
Wait, can you help me out back here?
The time taken has caused Kemper to become impatient, so he makes his way into the House of Horrors. Before we can see how this turns out, we cut back to the group at the van and get more of R. Lee Ermey's greatness.
Excuse me, you mind getting the fuck out of my way, son?
Cutting back to Aaron and Kemper at the house, Aaron is helping Monty up while Kemper does some good old-fashioned snooping. And after bending down to pick up some bells, we get the hammer kill of this movie. The noise causes Aaron to investigate, but before we can finish that, we meet back up with the group at the van. This scene is great, and it all comes down to R. Lee Ermey, and if I could play this entire scene, I would.
Oh, look at that. It's kind of wet down there. What you boys been doing with this dead body, anyway?
Can we please finish this?
Getting back with Aaron, she goes up to a big metal door and we get suspense building before Monty comes in and asks Aaron to leave. Meeting back up with the van group, the body is being moved to the police car and we get this bit of comedy.
God damn it, I got just as much respect for a dead body as anybody around here. Hey! Get that nasty goddamn thing out of the back seat of my goddamn car. Put it in the trunk.
Immediately breaking whatever ease we were at, we see Leatherface's workstation and even get a cameo from Harry J. Knowles, who was a film critic that made their way on set. He was basically the OG WikiLeaks when it came to film, so everyone on set was careful not to spill the beans, but the director had a prime opportunity to serve his head on a silver platter. Aaron makes her way back to the group at the van, and after discovering Kemper's disappearance, the group is distracted by a car horn and go over to investigate.
There's nobody even here.
This is where the group find a set of teeth along with a jar containing a photo of the girl that game-ended herself in the back of the van. It's at this point that the group splits up yet again to two people with the van, Morgan and Pepper, and two people headed to the house, Aaron and Andy. While Leatherface is preparing Kemper's body, a ring falls out of his pocket and we see that Kemper was going to propose but just never got the opportunity to. We then finally get to the point where I can talk about the deleted scenes. Most of the deleted scenes are focused around Aaron and Kemper's relationship, and originally Erin would have been pregnant, which is why she didn't smoke the weed or drink in Mexico. The deleted scenes were mostly of Erin and Kemper talking about said baby and how their life was going to turn around, and the only reason that Kemper got pounds of weed in Mexico was to have money to support Erin and their future kid.
Come on, you don't want to marry some dirty mechanic. I want something better than that for us.
The ring falling out of Kemper's pocket was a workaround that would give the same level of emotional investment while being able to trim the fat, so to say. Honestly, I'm all for this change because it lets the movie flow better and there isn't a ton of build-up just to have little action. The only scene I wish would have stayed in is this one where Kemper's talking about becoming Pablo Escobar, and the only reason I wish it would have stayed in is because there is some goofy shit in it.
You know, maybe you should just start smuggling heroin instead of the old Mexican homegrown.
Hey, you're a genius. No, seriously, the markup's like 100% higher.
Overall, I'm glad that they cut these character development scenes because even though they would have added depth to the character and in turn made us care more about them when they inevitably died, at the same time it would have bloated this movie, which was always going to be an hour and a half. Like the director said himself, that it was always going to be an hour and a half because there's only so much tolerance an audience has, and if they made the film an extended cut, people would be walking out before the movie was even over. And you can't have that, can you? Also, while I'm talking about the audience for this movie, I just want to show you some of this primo 2003 footage.
I was sitting there like this the entire time.
One of the best fucking horror movies I've seen in years, and I've been a die-hard fan of the original.
Getting back to the movie, we see Aaron distracting Monty while Andy sneaks in and looks for Kemper. While Andy is looking for Kemper, we get to see the set design, and this is another thing they changed from the original. In the original, the Sawyer family was very much a family of cannibals, and they had couches made from bones and the whole nine. In this iteration, the Hewitt family isn't confirmed to be cannibals, but as the writer said, it's on the table.
If it's there, it's implied. It's not on the table. It's not in your face. The threat of cannibalism is definitely beneath the surface of this movie.
So instead of skull cups or femur spoons, they decided to just have mystery meat hanging up and let the audience decide where it came from. While Andy is investigating, a large box of something or another falls from the fridge and the charade is up.
What the hell are you doing in my house?
We then get one of my favorite scenes of this movie when Monty is telling these turds that they're so dead they don't even know it yet, before calling Leatherface up from the basement.
Bring it!
I have more fun facts about the chainsaw later, but for now, I'll just tell you that the sound design of the chainsaw was very important for establishing fear. So the guy who mixed the sound in this movie put in bear and tiger growls to give the sense that this is a true blue monster chasing you through the plains of Texas. And besides the beast connection, it adds depth to the sound of the saw. Like, real chainsaws are loud, but they don't really have that bass, so adding it in post gives a fuller, more threatening sound to the saw. Andy uses his tire iron to stall Leatherface so Aaron can get away, but this leads to an iconic chase through clotheslines that ends with Andy getting his leg cut off. Now, I know the pace of this video has been all over the place, but I'm only making one video over this movie, so it's gonna have everything in it, so please just bear with me. But the leg chopping scene was filmed in one take with a real chainsaw and a fake leg, and they had over 10 different chainsaws they used for filming, and I'll go more in depth about those later. While getting dragged down to the basement, we get a scene that makes my skin crawl every time I see it, where Andy is clawing at the walls and his nails get bent backwards. Aaron meets back up with Morgan and Pepper, and after trying to get away, the sheriff comes back up to find a roach and escalate the situation.
I don't know where he is anymore.
Somebody want to explain this?
12 seconds later.
While this is happening, we see Leatherface preparing Andy by hanging him up on a meat hook and salting his wound before tying off his stump. We then cut back to Aaron and the sheriff, where we see some good old Southern justice.
I want to know exactly what happened inside that van.
We already told you what happened.
And now you're gonna show me.
After this vulgar display of power, we cut back to Leatherface, who's making himself a new mask out of Kemper's face. Speaking of faces, we get to see Leatherface's real face, and we see that someone got his nose but never gave it back, before cutting back to Morgan and the sheriff. The sheriff makes Morgan reenact the suicide of the hitchhiker, and for every take they did, Jonathan Tucker made himself throw up using the barrel of the gun.
and we did 25 takes from different angles. Just to see him, this young actor, holding his ground was just like one of the best experiences of my life.
Also, the scene is just great, and it all comes down to R. Lee Ermey's performance.
Take the gun and show me how she did it. Come on. Take the gun. Take the gun and show me.
Take your goddamn gun!
Like, it sucks to get put in a box and typecast, but Ermey always kills it, so it's like getting upset that Michael Jordan just played basketball and didn't pursue a career in painting. After turning the tables on the sheriff, Morgan has the sheriff at gunpoint, Pepper is telling him to blast his ass, and Aaron is telling him to calm down. But then, it's revealed that the gun was empty and Morgan is now in deep shit.
Pull the fucking trigger! Fuck you!
Well, well, well.
Catching back up with Andy, he's still hanging on the hook, and to accomplish this, they used a harness and steel plates. And if you've never been in a harness before, they're meant to be safe, not comfortable. Just to give you an idea, imagine a set of thin ropes tightening around your legs and waist, causing numbness after 10 minutes. I mean, some of y'all might be down for that clown, but to the vast majority of people, I can assume it would be unpleasant circumstances, and this caused Mike Vogel to tell the crew that if they brought him down, he wouldn't be getting back up. This caused Mike to be harnessed for over 5 hours while filming. Catching back up with Morgan and the sheriff, we get a great scene of Morgan offering his tickets to the sheriff, and the sheriff responding with police brutality and dental work before calling in Pepper and Morgan at the old mill.
Get on over to the damn Crawford Mill. Those two fellas are good to go.
Yeah, I used to make some fucked up shit when I was a kid. I'd take bologna, a slice of that fake ass cheese in that plastic wrap, chunky peanut butter, and then some I don't know if I put mayonnaise on it or not. I want to say maybe just like the ever so slightest kiss of mayonnaise.
My brother in Christ, you was out here doing some weird shit. You was out here making motherfucking.
Yeah, I don't know. This is before I even started smoking weed, so I have no excuse for this. Yeah. Like, I can't even say because I got high. Getting back to the movie, we see Pepper and Aaron trying to hotwire the van. Well, mostly Aaron trying to hotwire the van.
Pepper, I need you to hold that light really steady. Can you do that?
Before we can see how that pans out, we cut back to the sheriff and Morgan, where Morgan is given a horse bath in a puddle of mud before shoved into the Hewitt house. Catching back up with Pepper and Aaron, they get the van going, but they soon find that they have a loose tire. But before they can assess the situation, Leatherface shows up. Remember earlier when I said that I had more chainsaw facts? Well, they used about 10 different chainsaws while filming, and the reason why is because they had a couple that would smoke a lot, a couple that would throw sparks, a few with just bike chains instead of real chains, and then 1 or 2 real chainsaws. Andrew... Bernarski? Andrew Benarski? Andrew played Leatherface in this movie, and he's probably best known for playing Zangief in the Street Fighter movie.
Now, who wants to go home and who wants to go with me?
Also, when I bring up actors, I like to try and find obscure things they were in, like 1 episode of The Sopranos or 2 episodes of Family Guy, instead of The Illusionist or, wow, holy shit, Erica has been in a lot of Dookie. But point is, I like to find obscure things they were in. But unironically, Zangief is probably Andrew's most memorable role. Oh wait, hold on a minute. He was Cavern Henchman in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie? This changes everything. Anyway, back to the movie, we see Leatherface digging his chainsaw into the roof of the van, and he manages to grab Aaron by the scruff, but he was just using her to lure out Pepper. This is when we get yet another pretty decent scene of Leatherface revealing his new mask while feathers rain down around him.
Hi, I'm Paul.
After running in a direction, Aaron comes across a trailer and finds that one lady from Fight Club as well as the final boss of Cooking Mama.
Nobody's gonna come through that door.
Marla from Fight Club then proceeds to take a plot dump on Aaron, and we learn that Leatherface's face is leatheresque because of cancer that ate away at his face.
Skin disease. He was just a little boy when it started. Didn't you look at his face?
She also pushes tea on Aaron like Cosby pushed Puddin' Pops. Put in that fucking clip from his show about that barbecue sauce putting people to sleep.
They haven't worked anything out for themselves. It's my barbecue sauce. My barbecue sauce. Haven't you ever noticed after people have some of my barbecue sauce, after a while when it kicks in they get all huggy-buggy? I'm dead serious. Haven't you ever noticed that after one of my barbecues and they have the sauce, people want to get right home?
Why don't you give the chicken to these people that's going up and
All this commotion, however, wakes the baby in the back, and after looking at some family photos, Aaron learns that Marla is actually Leatherface's sister and she's just been drugged. She also puts two and two together and figures out that the baby belongs to the hitchhiker from the beginning of this movie. Now, I guess this was based on an increase in women kidnapping kids, and the team couldn't decide if they wanted to go with Marla from Fight Club or the final boss of Cooking Mama, so they said, fuck it, let's do both. Bada bing, bada boom, Canker Sisters from Ed, Edd and Eddy. She's definitely a Marie. We're then introduced to the whole family unit. Life is a bitch, and death is her sister. Sleep is the cousin. What a fucking family picture. I mean, you know Father Time, and we all know Mother Nature. It's all in the family, but I am of no relation. We then get hit over the head with a dynamic of rural folk not quite particularly caring for them there city folk. And we also get to see some character development for Jebediah.
You best stay out there with them dogs till you learn how to play by the rules.
Originally, the director wanted the character of Jebediah to be someone who was on the edge of corruption, and he wanted to spend more time with the character, but they had to cut most of the side plot, and all that remains are some deleted scenes.
Wow. Thank you, Jedediah. I feel so honored.
If I had to choose, I'd rather have more of the Kemper and Aaron rather than Jebediah, just because without the whole kid on the way subplot, Kemper comes off simpish, and Aaron comes off more like the super cool main character who holds the whole world on their shoulders. After Aaron is thrown to the basement, she comes across Andy in a not so subtle Jesus pose where he's playing a little jig on the piano. After Andy asks Aaron to do a good old mercy killing, I'm just wondering what the family's doing upstairs. Like, did they not just hear the piano or all the screaming, or do they just not care? Well, ask and you shall receive, as we see Leatherface peeking in on Aaron as she finds Morgan soaking in the tub. Jebediah then shows up to help the two out of the basement, but Leatherface hates it when his little brother is touching his shit, so he promptly makes his way downstairs and we get a chase through what looks like the mine tunnels people dug up in their basement for TikTok.
Fuck it! Chewie, I'm gonna rub my balls on your mom's face! I teabag your fucking drum set! Oh, my drum set's a guy, so that makes you gay, you fucker!
Jebediah does bite for 10 damage, and this lets Aaron and Morgan escape to a random abandoned house that was conveniently close. This is when we get one of the most suspenseful parts of this movie, with Aaron and Morgan trying to find a way out before having to hide.
This is bullshit!
What makes this scene work is sound design, and this was pretty much the scene they had in mind when they made the original black screen trailer. After thinking the coast is clear, Leatherface pulls Aaron through a fucking wall, but before getting to kill her, Morgan comes to the rescue. The rescue is short-lived, however, because Morgan ends up getting hung on a chandelier and his circumcision touched up, and this is one deleted scene I really wish would have made the cut. The reason it was removed was because the film would have gotten an X rating, which would have meant that it would not be able to be shown in theaters, and that's kind of where movies make their money back, so you can see the problem with that. The sad part is that by today's standards, the scene is fairly tame, and without it, it's kind of confusing as to what's really happening. The chase continues to an open field covered in a thick layer of fog, and while hopping the fence, Leatherface cuts his leg. Before doing advertisements and music videos, the director was a painter, and he talks about how in paintings you can make these intensely atmospheric shots of nature, and the only other time you can do something like that is in horror movies.
I was a painter and an illustrator, and I like Degas, I like Rembrandt, and horror movies is actually ironically the only place where you can practice that, where you can do that kind of a lighting style that's dark and rich.
It's one of the main reasons why I love the first Nightmare on Elm Street so much. Like when Nancy's running through the fog-covered town trying to help Rod, the setting is just close enough to feel uncanny and dreamlike, and it really is the cherry on top. Also, I'm just a sucker for fog, and I blame the episode of Scooby-Doo where Scooby cuts out a piece of fog and eats it. That shit looked delicious.
Ghost pirate stew, eh? You eat it!
But we aren't hungry!
After a while, when it kicks in, they get all huggy-buggy.
Getting back to the movie, we see Erin finding a nice little road and a car passing by, so she tries to stop it and get some help.
Blood all on my shirt. Wake up in the morning.
For as trope-driven as the genre is, it's nice to see that at least one person in this movie has enough sense to get the fuck out of there. Erin finds her way to a meat plant, and not so subtly runs up the cattle chute and almost gets butchered when she reaches the end. This meat packing plant was an actual meat packing plant the team rented for a couple of days, and all of the cow carcasses in the freezer were actual product.
They had done a slaughter the day before, and before it was shipped off, they rented it to us, saved us a bundle of money. It was sitting there, it didn't hurt anybody, and the guy could still run his business, and it worked well with everybody.
So instead of buying all of the beef, the team just bought a couple of bodies and left all the rest in bags so they could be sold later on. So every time you see a character touching a carcass, it's the same couple of carcasses.
So every time you see, it's always the same two carcasses.
If you see in the movie, they're all wrapped in plastic. If we did that, the meat inspector would let us get away with just renting the meat instead of having to buy it all.
Also, Jessica Biel was a vegan and said something to the effect of, "I'd much rather it be human bodies," which is a little dramatic to say the least.
She told me she would have an easier time if there would be dead humans hanging around than dead animals.
She came to us the night before and she said, you know, I don't eat meat. I'm not going to love this, but I'm going to do it.
As far as this scene is concerned, I mean, what do you want me to say? It's claustrophobic. The set design is great. All of the hooks and chains really give you the feeling that Erin is a scared bug trying to escape, while Leatherface is the kid shaking the jar like the girl in Finding Nemo. Eventually, Erin finds a meat cleaver and a locker to hide in, and we get another great scene of building tension as Leatherface slowly makes his way through the locker room. He's about to head out, but then Erin starts yelling for some reason, and this causes Leatherface to inspect each locker individually, leading to a fake-out with a pig in a locker.
I just made stool in there, and if you blow it down, the whole woods is gonna stink. Do you understand? Do you understand me, sir?
Now, I have some questions. Was there just a pig in the locker to begin with, or did Erin put it there? Also, why did the pig not make any noise or movement until Leatherface doubled back? Also, why are there two jump scares involving animals and lockers in this movie? I will, however, say that Leatherface's arm spinning around while he's trying to grab it like a drunk man grabs nuggets is very funny. I guess if you didn't know, the whole deal with Leatherface is that he's this big scary killer, but on the inside he's still a child. So that's why we get the shot of him in the hallway while the rest of the family's talking about him, and why he generally acts like a child when he gets hurt. I mean, it's not perfect in this film, but it's better than what they did with Friday the 13th when the main girl puts on Jason's mom's sweater and was able to get him to chill. I don't remember which one that was, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm almost certain it was the Platinum Dunes version. Also, if you'd want to see a video going over a Friday the 13th movie, let me know in the comments. It's not my favorite franchise, but there are some gems in it. Getting back to the movie, we see Erin trying 2 bay doors instead of the normal door that was right there the whole time, and eventually she makes it out to another road where she finds someone dumb enough to pull over.
I'm going to get you some help.
Finally, in a place of relative safety, we see Erin finally processing what she's been through, and this causes her to do the exact same things as the hitchhiker in the beginning. The truck driver, being a true blue patriot, not some stoned hippie, pulls the fuck over at the gas station, and he tells the Hewitt family about the crazy bitch that fucks so good she's on top of it. Erin notices the stolen baby, and after putting her hot wiring skills to the test yet again, we get our send-off to R. Lee Ermey. After stealing a cop car and someone else's baby, we get our chainsaw dance of this movie before cutting back to the police walkthrough we started this film with. This is until the police officers get attacked by Leatherface and we as the audience get attacked by a voiceover talking about Leatherface being out there somewhere and the case remaining cold.
This is the only known image of Thomas Hewitt, the man they call Leatherface. The case today still remains open.
If you've made it this far in the video, then consider dropping a like and subscribing if you're not already. While this movie isn't some hidden gem or underrated masterpiece, it gets caught in the shadow of Michael Bay and Platinum Dunes. And while they've produced their fair share of stinkers, this movie isn't one of them. You can tell that the director and everyone involved was passionate about the franchise and only set out to make the fans happy by not trying to do what the original did, which is a commendable goal. They used CGI to enhance and not to replace, and they used real buildings instead of sound stages because the best way to sell something as real is to use something real. If you're looking for something deep, watch Citizen Kane. If you want to turn your brain off and, according to this guy from New Line Cinema, finger bang some bitches, then this is the perfect movie. On a more serious note, I do apologize for the lack of uploads recently. I've been mega depressed recently, so it's been hard to motivate myself to do anything besides drink vodka and lay in bed watching ordinary sausage videos. But I have been seeing your comments, and it's become clear to me that this little channel I made to talk about things I like has evolved into a place where people with similar interests can come together and talk about things from their childhood. And that's great to see, but it's added some pressure to put things out to maintain what I have, and the whole point of this channel was to take pressure off of myself, so you can probably see the rock and the hard place I'm in between. Don't worry though, if I planned to leave, I would make a dedicated video, not just throw it on the end of a movie review. It's just been getting difficult to exist, and I feel like you guys deserved an answer, so there you go. I'm not sure how to transition from that, but if you want to see more of me, make sure to check out the podcast I do with Arnie King called Henny for Your Thoughts. We upload new episodes every 2 weeks. Also, if you want behind the scenes updates on videos, make sure to follow me on Patreon. And if you want general behind the scenes content, follow me on Instagram at PimpTurkey69. The next video will either be Batman the Animated Series or the next installment in my Death Note series. I have more movies I want to cover, but I need something quick in the meantime. Anyway, thank you for watching the Pimp Turkey Halloween / mid-November special, and until next time, later.
You ever walk out on a 100-acre Texas cornfield to an old farmhouse on the edge of the woods? You're gonna feel, you know, things that you don't want to feel, things that you can't repress. It's a very real fear for no real reason other than the immenseness of the dark in Texas. The sky on the plain, when it gets black, it gets really black. And you always feel like there's something in those woods.